another. The winner of that game would get a number one seed. But the most interesting story in this conference is going to be LSU without their head coach, Will Wade, who's been suspended. They got through the first game, but that was against Vanderbilt, which, it's Vanderbilt. This is going to be a lot tougher. How do you weigh this in terms of making a number? Because I think the popular thought, and I don't disagree with this, Jeff, is that there could be a distraction factor for LSU.
Yeah, and it's baked into the price, Dave. They're the third choice currently in the SEC tournament, obviously behind Kentucky and Tennessee, and all of the money, sharp and square, is on Kentucky and Tennessee. And the more you look at it, the more you want to think that the winner of that game, assuming it takes place, is the winner of the tournament. LSU has so much going on off the court, and, outside of those three teams, Mississippi State is all right, Auburn is all right. But it's Kentucky or Tennessee for me.
Right. So in terms of action, are you seeing anything on Ole Miss or Florida or any of these? I thought the SEC was pretty good this year. Yeah. Mississippi State was a good team. South Carolina, even though they only went 16-15 overall, had 11 wins in the conference, although they're banged up beyond belief. But when you look at the middle of the pack in the SEC, are you seeing any future book action, or is it all Kentucky, Tennessee right at the top?
To win the SEC tournament, we actually took some 8-1 and some 6-1 on Auburn from someone we respect. And then the public just sees 5-1 on an LSU number one seed. And, the public's really putting the money in on LSU. But outside of those four teams, there's been very, very little interest in the SEC tournament.
Everybody from back east knows how good this tournament is at Madison Square Garden every year. The Big East tournament really is sensational. And this year's tournament, while I don't think there's a great team in the conference, it's a spectacular tournament because the league is completely balanced this year. Anybody can go on a hot streak here.
Totally agree. Villanova, the number one seed, phenomenally coached. But they've shown they've been a little bit vulnerable lately. Marquette has really hit the skids. And you wonder if maybe the winner of Georgetown Seton Hall can go on a run here. Maybe they get to play Marquette or St. John's DePaul. I think the bracket sets up favorably for the winner of that matchup.
Yeah, and Seton Hall, by the way, now they have to guard against letting down in this tournament, actually, because they accomplished what they needed to at the end of the season, and they're going to make the tournament now. But you look at a team like, St. John's, for instance. They've got DePaul tonight. We're going to look at that game in the 4-4 coming up. But there are a couple of teams in this conference that I think really need to win to have a chance to stay alive and play at the big dance.
Yeah, totally agree, and we'll talk about it later. But that DePaul-St. John's game should be a good one.
All right.
Are you seeing any interest in a team that certainly played much better basketball down the stretch, Xavier, who was pretty bad for much of January into February, and then all of a sudden,
but then threw in a clunker in what was their biggest game of the year to end the season. So
sure.
That's welcome to the Big East.
Yeah. I mean, in my mind, that's a team that potentially could offer some value in a conference that has no clear. I mean, Nova's a clear-cut favorite, but Nova's shown a lot of vulnerability of late.
Yeah, they're our second highest ticket count in the Big East tournament behind Marquette. Sharp and square money weighing in on Marquette. They are our biggest liability in the Big East tournament, and they haven't shown much of late, but we shall see.
Well, we're going to see right now because we've got two Big East and two Big 12 games to look at in today's MJ Christensen 4 at 4.
1, 2, 3 into the 4.
Put the fours up. Put the fours up, I said. Do it right now.
Tonight's action is just around the bend, and the guys want to get your night off to a great start.
4.
It's the Las Vegas Sportsline's 4 at 4.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. Unbelievable.
Started off with Butler and Providence College. Crowd will be with Providence College here. They just shoot down the highway. It's only about 3.5 hours. They'll have a big crowd there. They always do. Ed Cooley owned this guy twice during the season. I got to tell you, I didn't bet the game, so I can tell you right now it's a winner because everything I don't bet wins. I think the Friars get the best of Butler here. What's happening with the line of that game, Jeff?
The public is all over Providence. We took a bet from a guy we really respect, Butler plus 1.5. The same guy bet St. Mary's plus 15 last night. So you got to respect it a bit. We went to pick 'em, and that didn't last very long. We're Providence -1 now. Like you said earlier, Providence handled Butler on Saturday. They really shot the lights out on Saturday. I'm not sure that happens again. I like Butler a little bit tonight. The winner gets Villanova. Nova been vulnerable lately, but they've hammered both of these teams. I would expect the winner tonight doesn't get to play more than one more game.
And one thing I almost never do in conference tournament action, I don't want to follow the money. You know, especially in these games that are bouncing around pick'em, and hey, I could have taken one, and now I'm laying 1.5 or 2. It's like it's a surefire way to give yourself trouble. So if I liked Providence earlier, I wouldn't like them anymore at the current price.
St. John's looked like they were locked into the NCAA tournament a couple of weeks ago. They're not anymore. And they're in a must-win game tonight against a team they lost to twice in the regular season. You would think the court advantage has to be with St. John's. They're used to playing in the Garden, and they're the New York City team. But they've evidently had some problems matching up with DePaul. They got to get out and guard the big kid who throws in threes like they're layups for DePaul. What's going on with the betting in this game?
Number's been 5 all day. Took one decent-sized bet on DePaul. All the small stuff is on St. John's. Johnny's been giving up a ton of points lately, and DePaul likes to put up points on the board. I expect this one to be a real fun one. DePaul beat St. John's both times this year. We know the old adage about doing it 3 times, but like you said, Dave, the matchup's a little bit difficult. I expect this game to be played in the 80s. Should be a good one.
And Ralph Michaels put together a real nice study over at Wager Talk. They went back and looked at what happens. You know, there's all you can't beat teams 3 times. And they went back and looked at all the third meetings over the last decade. And you know what it is? ATS? 50-50.
Yeah. Now, there was, however, one area that did stand out, and that was double revenge favorites of more than 3 points. They've actually done really well. They must be double revenge. They must be favored by more than 3 points. So if you want to follow an angle, St. John's would be the side there. TCU, Jeff, they're another team they're in a must-win situation. They cannot lose to Oklahoma State, and they might need more than that to get to the tournament.
Agree. They've really gone on a tailspin the last 3 weeks before closing out the season with a win at Texas. Oklahoma State, really off year for them. Close of the season with 2 straight wins. Yep. Maybe they got a little momentum going. No sharp interest here at all. Number's been 4 all day. Public all over TCU. Absolute must-win for TCU, like you said. The way they've been going, I'm not so sure.
And, you know, Okie State covered both meetings with room to spare. They gave them a battle in Waco in the first meeting, and then the second meeting was, they beat them outright at home as underdogs. And I'm with you. I do not like the way TCU played down the stretch, although that last season finale win at Texas could be a positive sign moving forward.
And let's go to one more game, and that's West Virginia against Lon Kruger's Oklahoma Sooners. And like last year, not quite as spectacular this year, but not that far from it. Oklahoma, JD, another second-half swoon by the Sooners. And I think they're going to get in anyway, but they could lock down the spot with a win against West Virginia.
Yeah, West Virginia's been pretty much a train wreck for most of the season. They haven't won a true road game all year. I know this isn't a true road game, but that kind of tells you how much guts the team has. Oklahoma won 4 of their last 6. Very, very well coached. They got wins against some good sides. Kruger have his side ready. I would lay the points before taking them tonight.
And boy, from a point spread standpoint, the Sooners for the season, a 67% ATS team.
They couldn't miss early on.
The Mountaineers for the season, a 33% ATS team. One team's been making everyone who's back in the money, and the other team has been costing everyone who's back in the money. So you know where the bandwagon is for this game.
Tomorrow, we've got one of the really big events on the PGA Tour. At Sawgrass, it's the TPC. Tiger's in the field, which means there's always going to be a lot of betting, although he's not one of the favorites this week, Jeff.
No, he's not, but the way his game is now, it suits this course nicely, because this isn't a bomb and gouge course. You can't really take driver a lot here, which is what he's struggling with. His iron game has been excellent, which is very important. And I actually was kind of interested in maybe taking a flyer on him until I looked at the wind forecast and the tee times, it looks like Thursday afternoon is going to be a whole heck of a lot tougher than Thursday morning. So I've kind of eliminated anybody that's starting in the afternoon on Thursday. They're going to be in a big disadvantage.
There you go. That's some good advice for people looking to bet the event.
For
Look
sure.
for morning guys on Thursday. You might be giving yourself an advantage. NHL wild card chasers, boy, they're fun. Stars and Coyotes now 7-8 in the West. Ben Bishop is unbelievably hot in goal for Dallas. His third straight shutout last night. That might be the difference that gets Dallas into the playoffs. How about the Coyotes now in the 8th spot? Great win for them last night on the road. Wild and Avalanche right behind. Even the Blackhawks and Oilers still in the hunt. This is pretty good stuff, Jeff.
Oh, it's great. Monday we put up some yes-nos, teams to make the playoffs or teams to win the division. I've been updating them every morning. We have yes-no Arizona, Wild, Colorado. I think Colorado's in a big spot of bother without Landeskog. They're a one-line team, Landeskog, Rand, and McKinnon. Without him, it's a huge chunk of production they're not going to have. The Stars are only 2 points behind St. Louis to catch them for third, but the Blues have a super easy schedule. The Stars probably get in. I was looking through the Wild schedule. The Wild's last 8 games, at Washington, at Carolina, home Nashville, at Vegas, at Arizona, home Winnipeg, home Boston, at Dallas.
Wow.
As tough as it comes. Arizona still has Anaheim, Edmonton, Florida, New Jersey, and the Kings on the schedule. Are the Wild a better team? Probably, but I'm looking at the schedules, and I think the Wild are in trouble too.
And Dallas could catch St. Louis. I mean, I know the Blues have a reasonably easy schedule, but they're also not going to have Tarasenko for another week or so, maybe 2. And they're not the same team without him on the ice.
No, you're right. Ever since they put Braden Shen on the line with Tarasenko and Ryan O'Reilly, that team has been a buzzsaw. And, of course, they're going to miss him. It kind of showed against San Jose this weekend. I think they've got enough and will do enough to stay in the 3 spot. I would be shocked if they fall out of the playoffs. But, yeah, they surely need him back to win a playoff series.
And in the East, Carolina, Columbus, Montreal battling for the wild cards. Looks like Penguins have kind of put themselves in a good position now to make the playoffs, which the NHL is probably happy about. I don't know what's going to happen with the Carolina, Columbus, Montreal trio because they're all playing good hockey. None of the teams are rattling, and even the Flyers are still kind of in the hunt.
Yeah, I still stand by what I talked about last week about Montreal probably on the outside looking in. They're really not a great road team, and they still have to go to Islanders, Flyers, Hurricanes, Jackets, Winnipeg Jets, and the Caps. Columbus, big win against Boston last night to kind of right the ship. I still make Montreal a favorite to not be playing in the playoffs. And I also think Carolina is very good. If they get any goaltending at all in the playoffs, I wouldn't be surprised for them to be my choice to lose to Tampa in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Lots of great stuff going on around town with March Madness here, and among the top events will be one taking place at the Link. Tell everybody about that.
Yeah, the Link. Great setup there. Couches, private seating, all-you-can-eat buffets, bottle service, all-you-can-drink, various price points for various budgets, all include different things. They're up to groups of 8, so you can break down the cost. It's one-day seating. You book it for the day. You have it from start to finish. Great place to watch the tournament. Our mobile app is open 24/7 every day, so it doesn't matter what time of day it is. If you want to get down, you can get down. Great stuff.
It sure is, and that sounds like a blast down at the Link. What a great place to hang out with people enjoying the same stuff you are, rooting just as hard. Might not be on the same side all the time, but that's part of what makes these big events, Teddy, that makes them so much fun to be a part of.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to pick between, you have a bucket list event in Vegas, you get March Madness, opening weekend of March Madness, you get Super Bowl, it'd be March Madness for me. It goes on, it's so much longer. Super Bowl 3 hours, 4 hours. One day of March Madness is all day, all night. It's incredible.
Yeah, it really is. It's unbelievable stuff. Make sure to follow Jeff Davis on Twitter. I always misplace the underscore. Is it at the underscore junkyard or at underscore the junkyard?
The underscore junkyard.
I know it was in there someplace. Got it right the first time. Jeff, we'll talk to you next week, man. Thanks a lot.
Sounds good, guys. Take care.
Jeff Davis, Director of Trading at Caesars Entertainment. Quick break for us. We come back. We'll update all the basketball scores. We'll get to our Joe's Angle of the Day, and we will look at our baseball preview team today. It's the Padres.